Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Taurus full moon forecast. We also today have a lunar eclipse, and we are in the sign of Scorpio. So, thank you for being here. Welcome back. If you have watched the couple forecasts that I've done previously, welcome. If this is your first time to this series, my name is Charlotte Alea Dovechild, and I am a priestess of the divine feminine and an intuitive guide, and I channel and work with the evolutionary pulse of this planet of Mother Earth to help us evolve and release and heal our fates and karma and open, reveal, and step into our destinies. So, in these collective readings, we're really looking at our collective destiny. And I like to say that if you are here, you are meant to receive this message. When I channel these readings, I step into quantum time and I ask for a message from Mother Earth to be delivered to anyone who is tuning into this, who happened to catch it, however this may have come to you. Okay, so we're going to dive in a moment. I also want to present the fact that we are at the tail end of this portal of ancestral healing. And in the northern hemisphere, anyway, we are really going into the dark right now. And so that energy is really present. And considering that also full moons are times of an accumulation of energies and oftentimes for releases, this is a time of release. And we're also in the sign of Scorpio, which is an incredible sign of healing and transmutation, death and rebirth. And we're moving into the dark. So I am beginning an apprenticeship in Irish Celtic shamanism. And I am learning that this time of year is actually the new year in that tradition, because according to the Celts, everything begins in the dark. So the beginning of the day is actually at dusk, and the beginning of the year is now, as we are really moving into the dark here in the Northern Hemisphere. So let's embrace that energy as we move into this reading. Embrace that collective wave of release, of transmutation, of letting go, and letting ourselves experience that the dark holds so many gifts for us, holds love for us. We are not, in these readings anyway, we are not in the whole love and light is the only spiritual path kind of trajectory. It's really about balancing the light and the dark in our lives and discovering the richness, the treasures, and the tremendous love in the dark mother specifically that I like to work with, the dark mother that is a face of Mother Earth. And we are turning towards that face right now. So in these readings, I pull 4 cards. And the first card is going to be our lesson or initiation. The second card is going to be the shadow. So what is hidden that wants to be seen, that's coming out into consciousness. The third card being the gift. So what can we expect to receive and experience when we embrace both this shadow and this lesson that we are being offered right now? And then the fourth card, which is one of my favorites, is my favorite, I think, is our wild card. So that's really like what other energies are present that we get to work with, that we want to be aware of right now. Okay, so I've already drawn the cards, and I work from this deck, Tarot of the Spirit by Joyce and Pamela Eakins. And it is one of my favorite tarot decks right now. It's just really beautiful, symbolic, and it's a little bit untraditional, but it has incredible symbology. So let's dive in, shall we? All right, so our first energy this for this portal, and by the way, when I present this reading and these energies, it is for this portal that we're moving through with the full moon and the eclipse happening, but it's also for the days following. So all of this will be relevant for, I would say, almost a week within that day. And even if you're watching this the day before, because I am releasing this the day before, you're going to already be feeling these energies most definitely coming through. Okay, so this is our lesson for this portal. One of Wind, which is the One of Swords in the traditional tarot deck. I love how this card is called Dawn, the new day. Just as we were talking about how the day begins in the dark. So let's turn this a little bit on its head as we have that, as we're carrying through that wisdom into this reading. So at the beginning of this sort of eclipse and ancestral healing portal 2 weeks ago, our leading card was all around memory and expanding the container of ourselves to contain more of the past versions of us. And that involved memories through childhood, through past lives, and also through our ancestors. And being able to hold a container of love that could contain these often paradoxical, sometimes difficult aspects of ourselves that we were unearthing and bringing to light, and becoming, learning about ourselves, gaining great insight into who we are through that process. We're also expanding that container if we're able to tune into those well ancestors who were wanting to come through, and they are there and they're with you even if you do not see them, feel them, or can acknowledge them. And so that presence also has expanded our containers. And I just want to reiterate that again. It has expanded your container whether you know it or not. So with this now energy coming through, leading us through this portal, we are coming into thoughts, ideas, beliefs, stories. So beliefs and stories were the big ones that pinged for me. One of Swords in its Ace of Swords. That's what it's usually called. Sorry. In its most essential, if you could just pare it down to one word, this card means a thought. It's something that sparks in the mind. And if you see on this card, we have this polarity of light and dark. When we're working with the realm of the mind, which the swords do work with the realm of the intellect, the mind itself is a polarized vehicle, right? Other aspects of ourselves can really hold the paradox and be in a sense of oneness, like our heart. Our minds that's their nature, that we are polarized, right? So right now, we are going to be experiencing new thoughts, new beliefs, new stories about who we want to be, right? We're kind of hashing through that expansion of through memory. There's likely a lot of beliefs and stories that came to light that we don't want to define us anymore. And we're recognizing how we are ready to release those stories and those beliefs. And we are then navigating to these new beliefs and these new stories that we want to define us, replacing them, right? And so here's the thing about this, that the old stories that have come into awareness are sparking the new stories, right? Because we're like, we need something to replace it, the old. Or here's the other or, and the interesting dynamic, sorry, I'm having trouble getting my words out today. The interesting dynamic about this card is that the new stories, the new beliefs that are sparking within us, this also could be an idea actually for a new project that you want to work on, um, a new hobby that you want to take up, something, a new path that you want to take in your life. So those new ideas and stories and beliefs could actually be hiding the old stories that need to be released first before the new can really take hold within us, can really come into full fruition. And actually, this could be something that you've come back around to many times. It could be an old story that you're like, wait a minute, this is still lingering. This is still coming up. I'm seeing how I'm playing this story out in my life when I don't want to. I'm manifesting something that is not how I want to lead my life. And you may be like, I have been trying to, this is the story I want to make of my life. This is the belief I want to kind of drive my life moving forward. But why isn't it manifesting? Because perhaps there is an underlying hidden belief system that is running the show still without you being aware of it. So we're in both of this territory. We're in the territory of the new and the old here. And so even though this is one, it's because we get into a polarized place where oftentimes we only see the one. And it's showing us that one is driving the show. So which is driving the show? I hope that makes sense. Okay, because we're going to move on to the second energy here. And because this is going to provide us with a lot of insight and depth into how we can move through this energy that's presenting itself. So now we have 7 of Earth. It's called the garden. So let's talk a minute about sevens, because in this reading, we don't have any major arcana cards. And as I've said, so when we have a major, it really is sort of the focus point of the whole reading, but we do have 2 sevens. So if you have a repeating numbers, that's also a focus. And so really sevens is sort of our theme right now. And sevens represent challenge. It's usually growth by experiencing discomfort in growth. So at sevens, we often sometimes can experience and feel like we're going back to the beginning. It can feel like, oh my God, I thought I was through this. I thought I was at the finish line, that place of beautiful fruition. And it's like, what is happening? Why is everything a big mess again? Okay, that is often the energy of 7. And the lesson of sevens is always that growth happens through contraction, right? It's contraction that then creates the expansion afterwards. So that is the theme, right? We are being tested and challenged right now. 7 of Earth, this is 7 of Pentacles in the traditional tarot. And the vision that came to me as I was meditating upon this card is of somebody towing a garden. So we've already, taken out all the old weeds and the dead plants. We're clearing the field, we're clearing the pot of soil, and we realize that there is actually still quite a lot hidden beneath that top surface of soil, and we need to get down on our hands and knees and start kind of clawing and digging out and pulling out those old roots. So that's the vision that came to me. We this time of year often brings up, because our culture likes to move into this sort of massive wave of consumption and surface level happiness right now. You know what I'm talking about. All of that covers this deeper truth of letting go. And so we're not mirrored in our culture the importance of clearing out before we plant the new. We really just want to jump to the new. And so this card is asking for us to look at where that shadow of sort of rushing through to the new wants to come in. And when we are rushing and we're like, okay, yes, I'm ready to be a different person. I'm ready to have this new belief system leading my life. I'm ready to create a new story for myself. I'm ready to launch this new project or this new path in my life that's going to lead me to the gold, or it's going to be the gold. I'm going to be the gold I've always wanted to be. This card is saying, whoa, slow down. It's still time to excavate. There's still some old refuge in the ground that needs to be pulled up and brought into awareness. I also wanted to share, like, since we are in this, since this full moon is in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is a very earthy sign. It is often the house of personal belongings and personal self-worth. It is the sign of wealth. So a lot of places of what you believe that you deserve, how you're worthy of receiving, what you're worthy of being in the world, your status amongst the community, the culture at large, where you belong. Taurus really brings up a lot of the frequency of belonging and belongings. So consider that as you recognize that there are still shadows just beneath the surface that still want to be brought up, belief systems, stories, and considering what, sorry, I'm something is dropping in just as I'm talking. Considering, since we've just come through this portal with the ancestors, and we may have begun working with some ancestors that hold beliefs, systems, values, stories about their lives that we don't want to live out anymore. We don't want to live their legacy, and so what are those legacies that are still buried beneath the surface that we need to recognize so that we can release them? Because they very well may have been running our lives unconsciously. One of the really important lessons of this card is that the compost of our lives, what we release, holds the seeds, the energy, and the potential of what is to come. So this card really teaches us to trust the process of release. That as we do so, we are planting the seeds of our next becoming. We don't need to write the new story yet. The story will begin writing itself in the next months to come, if we really just trust the process of letting go for now and not jumping on the train, moving forward to what's next. Because what's next is still hidden in the dark. Okay, so I think that completes that card. Let's move on to our gift. Let me just check my notes really fast. Yes. Okay. So, ready for our gift. Mother Earth. Ah, so perfect. I just love when the cards line up so perfectly. I mean, they do every month, but not every month, every moon phase. So Mother Earth. So this is the gift of aligning us with the cycles of nature, right? And when we align ourselves to the cycles of Mother Earth, we are tuning ourselves into and aligning ourselves to a frequency that is so much more powerful than our personal will or our thoughts, right? The ego drive to more and more and more, keep going, growth, growth, growth. So much more powerful when we align ourselves to these natural cycles of destruction and creation. The creation that comes through that natural process I was just talking about of composting the old is like rooted and solid and fully fleshed out rather than sort of hobbling, oh, right? We're creating right now the roots for what is to come. So I want to point out one important message that she's really giving us this month. So if you notice on the card, look how watery she is. She reminds us that the earth is, I think, somewhere between 60 and 70% water. And water brings us into the realm of compassion. And so as we are moving through this release process and letting go of these old stories and beliefs and narratives that have been passed down to us through our ancestors, when we are seeing how those narratives are part of our fate, are part of our karma, and are not part of our destiny moving forward, consider how you are doing that for not just yourself, but everybody that came before you, and so many people in the collective that were not or are not able to do that at this time. Hold a place of compassion and love for those that are still in those cycles, whether in spirit form or walking, living on this planet right now. That it is a gift to be able to release. You're not just releasing for yourself, you're releasing for them, because that energy creates a wave through the collective. So soften into this process. See that you are not alone in it. When we go into this process of release, it can bring us to a place of feeling really lonely because we're coming into that place of emptiness, right? And I'm going to talk about that a little bit in the next card more. And so one of the messages she's giving me is that although there is this sort of, illusion of aloneness because we are emptying out. We're in fact more connected to the collective and the collective frequencies going on than we ever could if we are releasing. So we are in fact so supported and so connected and so plugged in. So we're all doing this work together. And that's what she's really telling me. Like, I'm feeling this energy moving through my heart right now. We're all doing this work, this difficult work of release, letting go of these really like timelines. That is the word that just came through my consciousness. We are letting go of entire timelines that were repeated and repeated throughout the time that came before us. We're doing this work together. You are not alone in it. You are not alone. You are so loved. You are so supported. Whew. All right, let's move on to the next card. I think. Yeah. The other word that I wanted to just name with this card is just grief. You know, that, yes, let ourselves grieve with that water flowing through. Let the tears flow as you release. Feel the grief that is coming through you, that connects you to those well ancestors as they grieve with you. They are grieving with you. for all that has transpired. And it's now time to return to the Great Mother. Yeah, okay. So our final card, our wild card. All right. The second seven of water. So we're going further now into the watery realm that we were just talking about. So 7 of water, this is 7 of cups in the traditional tarot. It's so interesting because I've used the word insight like 4 times, I think, in this reading, and I was aware of it every time I use that word. I'm like, oh, there it is on the card. So 7 of cups, 7 of waters, this represents the deep, deep waters. So like if you think of like way below the ocean surface, in that like where it's completely dark and there's strange creatures who can see in the dark, and it's just this like cold void space. So 7 of waters brings us into the void. This is the empty space that lives within all of us. And in the West, we have been culturally trained to see the empty space as something that's negative and to constantly fill it, right? Because that empty space, for us, it can trigger our core wounds of abandonment, rejection, being alone, which for so many of us in this culture, we have experienced because we are collectively healing this core wound of separation, right? The separation between us and our souls, us and spirit, us and the planet. And so that empty space that lives within all of us, that void space, it can feel really painful. So this is why if you know tarot, oftentimes this card is interpreted as temptation and addiction and compulsive kind of behaviors that we use to fill the void, right? So unrealistic fantasies, those kind of things, the way that we sort of escape the void or try to fill it with something. And so, yes, that is the shadow of this card, and we can be aware of that right now. If there is this sense of emptiness or feeling that we really want to fill. And so the challenge for us, because 7s are challenges, is not to try to compulsively, urgently fill that void. The void is a gift. When we embrace the void, we actually become an open channel. This is an energy that, as a channel, as somebody who does readings for clients, for the collective, that I have come into deep personal relationship with, because I need to hold this space within me in order to bring through crisp and clear and direct guidance for those that I channel for. And so I do need to be aware that because I too have those core wounds, that they can be sparked when I am being guided by my soul, by spirit, to really clear out this space and open it. It will often be triggered by feeling alone, feeling empty. And then it's like, so I have this switch that I have learned to turn on and be like, oh, remember, this means it's time to actually channel. This means there's actually something that wants to come through me. So remember, I had this whole big discussion 2 weeks ago at the new moon around calling in those well ancestors, right? Calling in those new spiritual guides that are here for us. So this card is really telling me that we can use this opportunity as we clear out, to open that space to receive from them, to receive guidance, to receive support, to receive downloads, right? To like hear and listen to them, to open our eyes and see what worlds they're painting for us. And not that we are like I said, jumping ahead of ourselves and like becoming them, but simply receiving what they are sharing to us as gifts and new energies that we can integrate within our beings. This is also can be a time to utilize that empty space for true heart-to-heart connection with others. So those, soul sisters, dear friends, brothers, people that you truly connect to on a soul and heart level. This is not a time of, even though you feel alone, this is not the time to be alone at all. This is the time to actually like plan some either get-togethers or Zoom calls and share from your heart and to offer each other guidance and support, because we have the gift of this emptiness that we might actually be able to transmit for one another in really clear and beautiful ways right now. And that can offer you and each other insight. It can offer you different perspectives from maybe what is currently clouding your perspective right now, right? The old thoughts. And so those around you may actually be able to, those that you trust. Now, I'm not talking about random people you've just met. It could also be from a trusted teacher, though, or guide, So those around you can offer those clearer perspectives, perhaps, and show you the places where you might actually have a blind spot, not be seeing the whole picture. They might point you to like that spot on the ground that you may need to excavate right now. So lean into support systems as a way to not necessarily fully fill the void, but to fill it with love and then clear it out again. That's this process, is that through these sort of momentary times of connection with both loved ones living and loved ones that have passed, we can fill it and let it move through us. And then we empty it. We go into meditation, we empty it again. And really, that is the gift of this season. There is incredible insights coming to us. Oh my gosh, I just used that word again, regarding what's to come. And we can simply, as things come through, write them down, put them in a book, and let them simply keep flowing rather than attaching to them and bringing it into the head of like, oh, okay, oh, this new thing. Okay, what do I do next with it? How do I move it forward? Just put it aside, and it's a gift that it will continue to unwrap for you over the months to come. Okay. So that's our reading, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you would like to receive your own personal destiny reading, I am offering those. It's a extensive 10 card spread where we're really looking at the energies that you are ready to begin to transmute and clear and heal or integrate, right, from the past, and how that energy is shifting you into the future. So what is the guidance coming in for now, and how can you expect that to be unfolding in the near future, and what tools and energies are at your disposal to help with that process. So information about all of that is on my website, and those readings are sliding scale because I do have a commitment to make them accessible to just about everybody. All right. Thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you soon at the next new moon.